Hi, I am Ashraf. I'm a medical engineering master student at FAU, and in this project, I'm responsible for data management and authentication, and as well as game development.
Hello, my name is Victoria. I am a student of the Medical Engineering Master Program at FAU. In this project, my main responsibilities were related with medical research, concert art design, and gameplay design.
Hi, I'm Ekaterina. I'm the master student of International Information Systems program. In this particular project, my main focus was on user experience research, prototyping, and user interface design.
Hi, I'm Dominic and I participate in the Master of Medical Engineering. In this project, my main responsibilities lie in the data acquisition and processing as well as the game development.
In this course, our task was to create an Exergame for the virtual rehabilitation. In particular for the patients who have any kind of hand injuries, but at the same time we tried to keep our focus on those patients who have rheumatoid arthritis. First of all, we started with deep research into this field. What initiatives have been introduced already, what are the main problems that people face, and what are the research gaps. Also, most importantly, how the actual therapy process might look like to be able to translate it into the virtual reality. On the next stage, we prepared a questionnaire to conduct interviews with actual users, in our case patients and therapists. We prepared questions divided in two parts for each of the role and started searching for the participants. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we weren't able to talk to the patients. But luckily, we had a chance to connect with 3 physiotherapists and get helpful insights for our further development process. Based on the information collected and discussing few proposals from the overall team, we eventually came up with a final game idea. For rehabilitation purposes, it was important that the game allow us to apply different customized movements based on patients' needs. We also added some transitions and different states of objects to make the game fun and enjoyable. The next step was to create a paper prototype, as the less time-consuming and simplest way to visualize all our ideas, think about the player journey, and discuss it all together. We divided it into 2 parts. First, the game itself, based on the concept chosen, and second, the graphical user interface to interact with. After making the final changes, we were ready to start the actual development. Since the concept of our game was to break up the obstacles via hand gesture, we had to figure out what kind of tracking and what device we wanted to use. We had a choice between the leap motion sensors and the internal hand tracking of the Vive Focus 3. Looking at the VR environment and the need for few external devices, we decided to use the internal hand tracking of the Vive Focus 3, which is provided by the Wave SDK. The next steps were to develop the basic mechanism in our game. This included moving animals, shooting projectiles, and growing plants. We also had to develop a solution to check whether we could interact with the projectile or not. Since our game aims to support the rehabilitation process, the main requirement was to provide useful feedback to users and doctors about the patient's hand movements. This is a critical and very complex point in our game. In the end, we use dynamic time warping and calculate the error between the patient's hand motion and the optimal hand motion. Since it requires the time series of both movements, we had to take the rhythm out of the game and slow down the environment while the patient's movement is recorded, and then compare to the optimal movement. The accuracy of the hand movement can then be determined for each joint and reported to the therapist. Simultaneously, we started building up the game scene and UI. The process of building the scene had 2 stages. In the first one, we defined the aesthetics of the game, where the chosen style was the low poly along with the green natural environment theme. Also, we looked for the available assets aligned with our look and feel, we tested them, and eventually we built the terrain using the objects found. At this stage, a great deal of time was devoted to the scaling and positioning of the objects to obtain an attractive and enveloping scene. In the second stage, the storytelling of the player's enemy was further developed, so some important aspects were added to the scene to support it, for example, the rail construction and the enemy appearance. Building up the UI has been done in parallel. Besides login and main menu, we had to think what might be the typical steps within the game, where we should allow users to freely interact with interface like choose a hand to train with or just level, and where we should limit their range of possibilities, for example predefined number of repetitions in training sets. Besides, most assets used have been created on one's own, and we also added a accompanying tutorial to the very beginning of our game. And now we would like to present our result, so welcome to the ReHand.
It's another beautiful day in this wonderful land. It's perfect for walking around. Let's take a look at your garden. It seems that the flowers you planted will start to sprout soon.
God's sake!
Oh. It seems that your neighbor is not very happy about it. Be careful, it might start raining garbage to you.